Turns out, the 3 Ds. Your mind could be working perfectly fine. Your body could be failing you. And statistically, that combination is going to kill you faster than either problem alone. We're not talking about cancer or a heart attack. We're talking about something quietly working against millions of older adults right now, something that hardly anyone studies as a package deal, even though it should be priority 1 for anyone over 65. So what happens when depression shows up at the same time your memory starts going? Turns out the answer is dark, specific, and completely different from what your doctor probably assumes. Here's the thing nobody talks about clearly. Aging isn't one problem. It's 3 problems that show up at once. Your body stops working the way it used to. Your brain forgets things, and your mood tanks. These happen together so often that scientists have started calling them the 3 Ds: dependency, dementia, depression. Most research looks at each one separately, as if they're isolated issues that you can fix independently. But they don't work that way in the real world. When they show up together, something darker happens. The question that drove researchers at Peking University to spend years analyzing data was simple. What exactly happens to you when these 3 things hit simultaneously? And more importantly, does it matter for your survival? A team led by researchers at Peking University's School of Public Health decided to find out. We're talking about Yitang Wang and colleagues from China, working with data that spans years and thousands of people. The study, published in August of 2026 in the Chinese medical journal Zhonghua Yi Shui Zaji. These weren't casual observers. The team included experts from the National Health Committee's key laboratory, neurology specialists from Zhonghua Hospital, and researchers from the Center for Healthy Aging and Development Studies. They had access to something most researchers dream about: the Chinese Longitudinal Healthy Longevity Survey, a long-term tracking project that followed the same people over time. That's the gold standard for figuring out what actually causes death. They weren't guessing. They were watching. So here's what they actually did. They took 2 waves of data from this massive survey. 2018 and 2021. 3 years between measurements. They looked at adults aged 65 and older living in China. Then they sorted these people into buckets. 1 bucket, people with none of the 3 Ds, functioning fine. 2nd bucket, people with only functional dependency, meaning their bodies didn't work but their minds were sharp. 3rd bucket, only cognitive impairment, your brain struggling, but your body still moving. 4th bucket, only depression. 5th bucket, people dealing with combinations of 2 or more of these problems. Think of it like sorting people by their health signature, not by disease name, but by what's actually broken. Then they waited. Some people in the study died, most didn't. By comparing who died versus who survived, they could calculate the mortality risk attached to each group. It's like a controlled before and after, except the outcome is death, and you're tracking thousands of people over years. The first finding hits hard. People with no dependency, no cognitive problems, and no depression lived the longest, obviously. But here's what's surprising. Having just one of these problems didn't triple your death risk or something manageable like that. Single problems did increase mortality, yes, but the effect was moderate. Functional dependency alone bumped up your death risk. Cognitive impairment alone did too. Depression alone also raised mortality. But none of these single problems created a catastrophic spike. The catastrophe happened when they combined. 2 of the 3 problems together. Death risk jumped dramatically. All 3? The mortality burden became roughly 2 to 3 times higher than people with no problems. We're not talking about a 10% higher risk. We're talking about the difference between a reasonable chance of making it through the next several years and much worse odds. And that's before you factor in age and other medical conditions. The study found something else wild. The order mattered less than the total damage. Whether someone had dependency plus depression, or cognitive problems plus depression, or all 3, the trajectory toward worse outcomes was relentless. Here's what this means for actual human beings. Imagine your grandmother is 70. She can still walk. She still remembers her grandchildren's names. She's mostly happy. Now imagine a version where she can't walk without help, but her mind is sharp and she's not depressed. Bad situation? Yes. But her survival odds aren't collapsing. Now imagine a third version where she can't walk, she's struggling to remember names, and she feels like nothing matters anymore. That third version is the one where mortality risk skyrockets. The body gives up, the mind fails, and the spirit breaks. All at once. That's not poetic. That's biological reality according to this data. But here's an honest caveat. This study tracked Chinese adults specifically. The same pattern might not hold equally in different populations with different healthcare access, different genetics, different cultural approaches to aging. The study was also observational, meaning it can show associations, but can't prove one thing directly causes another. Just because depression and cognitive decline happen together doesn't mean one caused the other. They could both be symptoms of a deeper problem nobody's measured yet. What makes this research sit up and demand attention is that it challenges how we actually treat older people. Right now, most healthcare systems treat these three problems as separate departments. Your physical therapy is separate from your psychiatrist, which is separate from neurology. Nobody's asking, what if the real threat isn't any single problem, but the combination? What if preventing one of them slows down all three? What if the order of intervention matters? Here's the question nobody has confidently answered. Can you break the chain? If someone shows early signs of depression, can aggressive treatment there prevent cognitive decline later? If physical therapy keeps someone mobile, does that protect their mental health in ways we haven't measured? The study doesn't answer that. It just shows that these three problems travel together like a pack, and when they're all present, they're lethal. That gap between observation and intervention is where the next decade of research should live. There's a number that should wake you up. Millions of older adults in China alone are dealing with at least one of these three problems. Many are dealing with more than one. Now multiply that across the entire world. The global population is aging faster than at any point in human history, which means we're about to have vastly more older people experiencing exactly these combinations. Unless we start treating them as a package, understanding them as a system instead of separate diseases, we're going to be managing millions of preventable deaths. Not because treatment doesn't exist, but because we're treating each piece independently when the pieces are actually talking to each other. Here's the number that sticks with you. 2 or more of these problems together roughly doubles or triples your death risk in just a few years. Not decades. Years. And we're barely asking why. Turns out scientists have been busy, and they're not done yet.